Hey, so welcome back. It has been a solid 2 weeks, or maybe almost 3, and I have been completely MIA, which is slightly unacceptable. But in my defense, I was sick and couldn't do the 2 videos that I missed due to illness. I was at death's door, or felt like I was at death's door, and I slept a lot. So, welcome back, and let's start today's video. Welcome back to Emptying Gulliver's Bucket, to everyone that has been here before and all new viewers. Today, as you can see, I have a bit of a little pile next to me here, and it's not because I bought books, it's actually because if you watched the previous video where I was talking about the books that I read in the month of January, you would have heard me talk about a top secret video. It wasn't top secret at all, it was just an upcoming video, because I decided to join in on the Buzzwordathon, which was created by Books and Lala, which I will link down below. And how this readathon works is that there's a buzzword for each month, and then you just pick a book that applies to said buzzword. So I've already done the February and the January ones. I've read them, I've applied them, it's been done. And I wanted to do this from like January, so I started in January. I'm just filming the announcement video, or the TBR video for the book, the readathon, now at the end of February / the beginning of March. So without further ado, let's get cracking with the books that I chose for each of the buzzwords that have been included in this readathon. Let's do it. So, for the first buzzword, or for the first month, which was January, the buzzword was the 5 W's, and that is what, where, when, why, where, and then how. So that was, you need to pick a book with that one of those 6 or the 5 W's in the title, and the one that I picked was this, When All Is Said. And I've read it and I enjoyed it, and I left a little bit of a review in the previous video that is linked down below or up here in the little cards, and that was my reading wrap up for January. So I did read this, and this was the book that I chose, When All Is Said by Anne Griffin. So if you want to hear my thoughts about it or hear a bit more about the book, go watch that video. I'm not going to repeat myself. The second prompt, or the second buzzword, is pronouns. So it's anything like I, me, we, them, they, he, she, anything that is a pronoun. Like, even though we is not a pronoun, but the point is like anything that is used as a collective or as used to refer to a person and people. So the one that I chose was If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, and this is a dark academia book, or academia, and I loved it. Like, I finished it, and I will say more about it in my wrap up for February, but I really enjoyed it. And this follows 7 students that are drama students in this prestigious school, and one of them went to prison for a crime. 10 years later, he finally gets parole, and now the detective that was on the case confronts him again and asks him for the real story. So this flashes back from when the story is being told and back to when it was, and it's full of drama and like young person angst and Shakespeare, and it's just dark, and it was a ball. I really loved it. But this was my choice for pronouns because it has we in the title. So that was my choice, and I highly recommend the book actually as well. So take note of that. After that, for March, we have locations. So it can be anything like a city, like a location that is more general, like in the woods or the city or anything like that, or it can be a legitimate place, maybe, or a location in the house, like the bedroom, the attic, anything of that. It just needs to be a location. So I picked The Stray Cats of Ums, and It's by Eva Nor, I think. But this just sounds lovely, inspiring, and quite sad, really. It follows this little boy who is in Homs when the war takes place in Syria, and he befriends all these animals and looks after them, and that is how he copes. And this is how he needs to, pretty much a story of a young man who will do anything to keep the dream of home alive. So this is a war novel with animals. And it sounds quite heartbreaking and quite beautiful. But yeah, so that is what I chose for my location. My location is Homs. Yes, there. That's my location. Then for April, the prompt or the buzzword is big and little. So what this means that it can be anything like big, large, great, any synonym of the word big or any synonym of the word little. So it can be small, tiny, anything of that form. And for this one I've got two. I haven't figured out which one I want to pick yet, so I'm keeping two of them on the list. So in April I'll make the cut to see which one is the one that will read for then. But the first one that I picked was Small Island, because, you know, small, by Andrea Levy. And this is actually a winner of the Orange Prize for fiction. And this is about a Jamaican man coming to live in England, in London, in 1948. After the war, he fought for his country and he expects it's going to be better, and life is still difficult. And this is about the three people forming a little island in the middle of this bustling city and trying to recover after a war. So another World War II novel, but that just sounds amazing and quite riveting and succinct with what it's wanting to say about how the people were treated, even though everyone fought the same war together and suffered the same, how they treated afterwards. And then for my second option for the big little buzzword is the smallest man. So I've got the small island and the smallest man, and this is about the Queen's dwarf in 1625. Oh, well, in 1625 they gave me as a gift to the new Queen of England and called me the Queen's dwarf. But I was more than that. I was her friend when she had no one else, and later on, when the people of England turned against their king, it was me who saved her life. My name is Nat Davy. So this is the story of little Nat Davy, who saved the Queen, and he was a tiny man with a big heart. So I'm looking forward to hearing or reading about this little character, well, this big character from an era that I don't visit very often in fiction, and it's also a very pretty cover, like just with all the glinting and the gleaming and it's just pretty and blue. That's all. Then for May, the buzzword is directions. So it can be left, right, up, down, north, east, south, west. And this is where I picked East of the Sun, West of the Moon by Jackie Morris. And I talked about this in my Waterstones haul that I will link up here or down below, so feel free to go watch that. And this was during when Waterstones had the half price 50% all hardback sale. So I've talked about it then, I'm not going to repeat myself, but I wanted to work in this beautiful book with all these beautiful illustrations into my little reading list for the year, because firstly, I love retellings of classic fairy tales and whatever, and then the art just makes me smile every single time. So I had to have it, and that is my pick for directions. And I think it's quite a cool one because it has two. It's got East and West in the title. Then for June, we have to have the word all in the title. So that's the buzzword all in quotation marks. And this was one that I actually didn't have on my shelf. I didn't have a book with the title, with all in the title on my shelves. The rest I all had. I just had to pick ones. And this was quite tricky. I didn't realize that so few books actually have all in the title. So I had to go do some book shopping and treat myself to a book, which was also quite an adventure because I had to go to Waterstones and I was looking for one book and one book only, and it was a book with all in the title. And then it took me a good hour to find anything, and then within 5 minutes of finding the first one, I found another one. But yes, so the book that I picked was Happy All the Time by Laurie Colwin, and this is pretty much about a family or two families that are just happy all the time. You know, it's like Goody is not in the habit of falling in love with women he sees in museums until he meets Holly. Precise about everything, she knows what she likes. Pressed sheets, oranges, but nothing orange flavoured, tea on a tray, and now Guido. Meanwhile, Vincent, Guido's eternally cheerful best friend and cousin, falls for his misanthropic new colleague, Misty. She seems as uninterested in love as she is in Vincent at first. Through courtship, arguments, wedding plans, and other perils, the couples find a way to be happy, almost all the time. So this is just a little family story and how of trials and tribulations, misadventures in love, and getting that happy ever after and being happy almost all the time. So Laurie Colwin wrote this book, and that is the one that I picked for my all buzzword. Then for July, we have the buzzword, or well, anything that is book-themed word. So it can be book, manuscript, library, bookseller, reading, readers, anything that has to do with books and literature or the consumption of words. And for this one, I again have two options. So the first one is actually a fantasy, which is just an absolutely stunning cover, or well, a cover that I'm really, really drawn to. That, unlike the weight, the actual book just brings me so much joy. Like, it's quite a heavy, solid feeling book. But the absolute book was written by Elizabeth Marks, and a book, a murder, a library with an ancient secret is the catchphrase for this one. So it's pretty much about a sister who's Taryn Cornick barely remembers the family library. Since her sister was murdered, she's forgotten so much. Now it's all coming back. The fire, the thief, the scroll box. People are asking questions about the library, questions that might relate to her sister's murder, and something called the absolute book. So she is haunted, and she's going on an adventure to find answers about what happened to her sister and everything that she forgot, and travels back to the family library. So a solid fantasy that I can't wait to dive into is one of the options for this one. And then the second option is The Library of Legends by Janie Chang. And she also wrote Three Souls and Dragon Springs Road. So this is pretty much about China 1937, when Japanese bombs begin falling on the city of Nanking. 19-year-old Hu Lian and her classmates at Minghua University are ordered to flee. Lian and a convoy of students, faculty, and staff must walk 1,000 miles to safety, a journey marred by the constant threat of aerial attack. And it is not just the refugees who are at risk. The group has been entrusted with a priceless treasure, a 500-year-old collection of myths and folklore known as the Library of Legends. Lian finds friendship and a cautious romance with the handsome and wealthy Liu Shoming. But after one classmate is murdered and another is arrested, Lian realizes she must escape before a family secret puts her in danger. Accompanied by Xiao and the enigmatic maidservant Sparrow, Lian makes her way to Shanghai, hoping to reunite with her mother. On the journey, Lian learns of the connection between her two companions and a tale from the Library of Legends. The revelation comes with profound consequences, for as the ancient books travels across China, they awaken immortals and guardian spirits who embark on an exodus of their own, one that changes the country's fate forever. So this is a bit of a mystery, myth, romantic, fantasy, historical novel that has just kind of intrigued me since I saw it for the first time advertised by Book of the Month. And that's an entirely different discussion that I'm not going to go into right now. But I saw it as one of Book of the Month picks at one point, and it just intrigued me so much. Like, it's such a wonderful concept, and with like the little hints of romance and the myths and legends and the adventure and the travel, it's pretty much right up my alley. It's like one of the pretty much everything I love in a book right here. So that's one of my two options. So I'll just pick which one I like most as soon as I get to that month. That we have an item. So it's anything that's an object, and I went with the metal heart because a metal heart is an object. It's like a physical thing. In any case, this is Orkney, 1941. 500 Italian prisoners of war arrived to fortify these wild and desolate islands. Orphan sisters Dorothy and Constance volunteer to nurse the wounded, but while beautiful, damaged Constance remains wary of the men, Dot finds herself increasingly drawn to Cesar, a young man fighting on the wrong side and broken by the horrors of battle. Secretly, passionately, they fall in love. When a tragic mistake from Con's past returns to haunt them, Dot must make a choice: protect her sister no matter the costs, or save the man who has captured her heart. So this is about the innocence of war and love, and Caroline Lee wrote this, and it's on an island that you don't hear about a lot in literature. And I just really love the cover, like the thistles on the cover and the strong lines with the blue and then the little bits of purple, like gilding, like really does it for me. But I have always wanted to visit Orkney, and I know it played a large role in the war, but nobody ever speaks of it. So that, along with the romance, just makes this a perfect read under any circumstances, and it is my pick for an item in the month of July. Is it July, or is it August, that one? It's August. For the month of August, I picked The Mental Heart by Caroline Lee. Then for September, we have Anything Light and Dark. So it is once again the same as Big and Small. Synonyms, they're antonyms of each other, so any synonyms go. And for this, I picked The Light Between Oceans. So The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman has a movie, which I will watch after I finish reading this, because I don't do the movie then the book thing. But pretty much this is about a boat washes up on the shore of a remote lighthouse keeper's island. It holds a dead man and a crying baby. The only two islanders, Tom and his wife Izzy, are about to make a devastating decision. They break the rules and follow their hearts. What happens next will break yours. So I'm a sucker for anything that will break my heart. It's official. I love heartbreak, and when I stop at the end of a book, I'm pretty happy. I'm not pretty happy, but you know what I mean. So this is just about two people picking a baby, deciding to love it, and then the consequences that follow. And it's got light in the title, so that is my pick for Light and Dark. Ta-da! Then for October, we have anything that's animals or creatures. So animals or creatures, pretty much you can go fantastical creatures, but I decided to do beasts of prey, because beasts is like another word for creatures / animals, like ferocious animals, beasts, whatever, by Ayana Gray. And pretty much this has been all over the internet for quite some time, and I just left it until I could get a paperback of it, and then I found a secondhand copy, so it was meant to be at that time. And this is pretty much a fantasy that is about a city and then that loses its magic, and this girl that goes on an adventure and has to go hunting for beasts, because Kofi is a beast keeper at Lucosa's infamous night zoo, caring for fearsome creatures to pay off her family's debts, until she mistakenly unleashes a wild and mysterious power that sends the night zoo up in flames. Egon is destined to become an elite warrior like his father and brother before him, until the fire at the night zoo throws his destiny into disaster and he is cast out forever. Thrown together, Kofi and Egon have only one choice. They must enter the terrifying Greater Jungle and capture the Shetani, the legendary monster that has plagued Lakosha for a century. Magic has returned to Lakosa and the hunt has begun. So it is a young adult fantasy, and this is perfect for fans of An Emperor in the Ashes, Shadow and Bone, and The Gilded Ones. So I have read An Emperor in the Ashes and Shadow and Bone, and I loved both of them, so this looks promising. That, and I really love the exclusive light cover, because I think this is a Fairy Loot one. So I found it secondhand, and it was gifted and all that. But yeah, so this is my creature pick. It's Beasts of Prey. We're almost there. Last two books, and then I'll let you get on with your day. So for November, the buzzword is ing, so any words that end with ing. So I chose Malibu Rising. And this is pretty much by one of my favorite authors. So I've read Daisy Jones and the Six, and that book has a little piece of my heart. And this is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So pretty much this book takes place over 24 hours. It is a massive beach party in a mansion in California. And this beach party is hosted by the rich siblings of like a famous music producer every year, and suddenly the whole place burns down. So we know it burns down and that everyone dies, but in this 24 hours, secrets come to light, and you get to know all four of these siblings a lot better and figure out all their dirty little secrets, or their little hidden dark secrets. And I just pretty much love her writing. She infuses her characters with so much life that it's very difficult to not get sucked into it. I mean, like Daisy Jones and the Six, I picked up because, oh no, I'm just gonna read a little before I go to bed. I finished it in one setting. So just because it's this author, I know it's gonna be amazing. So Rising, ing at the end of Rise, is why I picked this for my November buzzword. Then the last one is December, and December we need to use a buzzword with a number. So I had quite a few options, but I decided to go with a book that I have had an eye on for years now. Well, it feels like forever, but I don't know how long in actuality. But that is Ninth Reign by Jen Williams. And it is another fantasy, so I've got quite a few fantasies on this stack, which I'm really, really excited about. And this is about the city of Ebora, once glittered with gold. Now its streets are stalked by wolves. Tourmalin and the Earthless has no taste for waiting to die while the realm of his ancestors falls to pieces. Talk about a guilt trip. When eccentric explorer Lady Vincenza Vintage de Grazon offers him employment, he sees a way out. Even when they are joined by fugitive witch with a tendency to set things on fire, the prospect of facing down monsters and retrieving artifacts is preferable to the abomination left behind. But not everyone is willing to let the empire collapse, and the adventurers are soon drawn into a tangled conspiracy of magic and war. The Julia are coming, and the Ninth Reign must fall. So this is the start of a trilogy, so if I love it, then I've got a trilogy that has been completed to just fly to and get completely immersed in, because I really don't like starting series or trilogies if I have to wait for the next ones. Like, I'll buy the first one and then just wait for the other two to be published and then read it, so that I can buy and read the next ones quite soon. But yeah, it's quite a big one, and it's got a really good floppiness index. But yeah, that is my number pick for the buzzword of December. And that is all I have for you today. And so these are the books that I'm planning to read, or a book a month that I'm planning to read for the next few months, or until the end of the year. If you are going to partake in this readathon, or if you are, please let me know in the comments down below what you picked for which buzzwords, or if you have suggestions for the buzzwords, because I do not mind switching them out and picking a new one as I see fit, because I'm the one reading it, so I will. But yeah, if you've got any recommendations for books that you think might like fit this buzzword perfectly and that I would love, please let me know. Like, I'd adore that. And for now, that is all from my side. I'll see you next week. Stay safe, stay lovely, and thanks for watching.